The Thunder take game 2. They're all over the Pacers with their defense. Tyrese Haliburton, not good enough. Pacers offense, not good enough. The series is 1-1. The Pacers not ahead in a series for the first time this playoffs. So much to get to on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, oh, man, a lot to get to from Pacers Thunder Game 2. Pacers crushed by the Thunder from late first quarter on. It was all OKC. Pacers with some pockets of success here. A little bit of thing there. Do they have some juice? It's a 13-point game. No, they do not. The Thunder defense strangling. Tyrese Haliburton, not good enough. Limping off the podium at the end of the game. So much to break down from this Thunder defense that's cutting off the paint, that's playing connected ball and giving the Pacers a ton of fits in the second game. And for the first time the entire playoffs, the Pacers aren't up 2-0, and they're not ahead in a series after winning the first game. The story of the game that everybody's talking about, and I think poorly, which I will now explain, is Tyrese Haliburton's night. Now, let's be clear, and we got to start with the obvious things. Just not good enough. 7 shots through 3 quarters. I believe he had 5 in the first half. His 3 gave the Pacers their 3-point lead in the first quarter, the biggest they had of the game. And then he couldn't get going at all. 2 shots in the third quarter, giving him 7 through 3 quarters. And I'm going to use the through 3 quarters a lot here, and you'll see why as we continue. If you watch the game, you know why. He could not get going at all. The other part of this that I think is under-discussed and leads into a lot of where I want to go with this, he had 3 assists very quickly in this game, right? And that is sometimes what I think people miss, is that he'll have 7 points, but like 9 assists at halftime of the game. He had 1 assist on the very first play. Siakam hits a 3. He gets his first assist. Andrew Nembhard 3 with 7:39 to go in the first quarter. He gets his second assist. Ben Mathurin with a 3 with 4:38 to go. He gets his third assist. He did not record another assist at all in the first half. And then in the third quarter, more struggles with the passing. Only 1 assist in that quarter too. So it was twofold struggles that suggest that this is more than just be more aggressive, man. Go take more shots. And I'm not even saying that with a snarky tone to just be like, that's a silly way of looking at it. But I think it is in this game, because here's what's going on here. Look, I think it's been well established by people who watch every Tyrese Haliburton game. If you've just been watching the playoffs, if your perception of him is wrong, whatever, he's probably the best player in the league that can singularly be shut down by one amazing defender. And I don't mean shut down like completely erased from a game, but you can stick Lou Dort on him as the Thunder, and you need other help. People are right by him when a screen is coming. It's not that Lou Dort is just all over him and shutting him down and that's it, because the Pacers could just set a screen and get him going, right? It's not that simple, but he's the best player in the league that kind of just one guy can really cause that much kind of trouble. And it's as much on Haliburton as it is the Pacers to make that not the case. So let's zoom out for a second. Thing one, Tyrese Haliburton has to be better. He has to find avenues against weaker defenders to get better shots. Right, one of his last shot of game 1, Cason Wallace is on him, wiggles to a spot he likes, fades away, and scores. Right, he can do that against a Cason Wallace level defender. There are plays where he's like the end of the third quarter where he comes across the timeline. Here's Lou Dort. Here's a second defender. He's got to get off the ball right away. Aaron Nesmith's open. Aaron Nesmith steps back for 3. Even Aaron Nesmith gets blocked. That's the Thunder defense in a nutshell. So here's what's going on. And we'll talk a lot about the paint defense for the Thunder in the second segment here. The way the Thunder defense gets its strengths is they cut off the paint so well and they force turnovers. The Pacers love to get in the paint and love to never turn it over. It's part of what makes them so potent. Haliburton is seeing so many bodies around screens when he's going to the paint that he's not going that way because something else is more open. So the natural instinct of a pass-first point guard there is probably correct. The Pacers had success in game 1 with Siakam attacking the defense in that exact situation, with Andrew Nembhard attacking the defense in that exact situation. Aaron Nesmith is one of the few guys who can kind of bully his man and get into the paint in this game tonight in the series, and he's not finishing that well there. He had actually a couple plays where he just got completely shut down in the paint. but that's available. The Pacers did not do well enough in those 4-on-4 situations. But that's what Haliburton is seeing and why he's having so much trouble. I don't think this is a won't, right? I don't think Tyrese Haliburton is getting the ball and saying, I'm not going into the paint. It's not an active choice. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not because he won't. It's because he kind of can't, given the coverage, or maybe shouldn't is the right word. And so that is why I think this is being talked about so wrong. Because, again, the headliner is obvious. He needs to be better. 7 shots through 3 quarters, not enough. 4 assists through 3 quarters, not enough. But it's also a team level issue. And what I mean by that is, let's skip ahead to the 4th quarter, where Tyrese Haliburton takes almost as many shots as he took for the rest of the game. 7 shots through 3 quarters, 6 in the 4th quarter. 2 assists that period, 12 points. They win his minutes. It doesn't matter. The game was decided. So that quarter gets a little bit of a floats away into the memory wind kind of thing because the game was decided. If you watch this game, you'll know why this is the case. Like, he finishes the game leading the Pacers in shot attempts with 13. He was the Pacers' leading scorer in the game. It should not be talked about that way. But what is important in that quarter is, and I tweeted this is as much a Pacers thing as it is a Tyrese Haliburton thing. My exact tweet, if I could ever learn to scroll, it reads, Haliburton being better here is more about what the Pacers are doing than what he is doing, which is not meant to say that it's all about that. But what I mean to say is he was getting it on the move. Here comes a screen with Haliburton off the ball. He catches. He's a half step ahead of his defender. That helps him get into the paint because he doesn't have to beat his man and then see a defense. He's getting it in a spot where he can attack the baseline and not see all those bodies in the paint and get to a floater there. He's getting into those pitches at the top of the key with a big Myles Turner, whoever, that get him going on the move, get the big rolling into space. That was a key action to start the 3rd quarter. Myles Turner was crushing to start the second half with pick and pops, with pick and rolls, with whatever, because he was doing exactly that. And so, again, do not take this the wrong way. Tyrese Haliburton has to be better. Think back to the December Pacers Thunder game. It's almost the exact same conversation. But the Pacers won a game in this series. They know, even with the defense played against Haliburton, what it's going to take to get him going. And it takes a team effort. And you know it takes a team effort on games where when Haliburton is slowed, everybody is slowed. That's why it matters so much to me that the first 3 assists he had were for threes, because that defense being played by OKC shut down Haliburton and thus everybody else, right? It really cut off the passes to shooters. It really made it hard for those players to get the ball in space. The Pacers figured out stuff as the game went on. Their cutting got better. Lots of things really looked more effective. But when Haliburton can't be himself getting 2 feet in the paint, spraying it out from there, the whole Pacers offense looked worse. So this is on Haliburton, obviously, to, 1, be better at getting past his own man, getting into the teeth of the defense, making plays from there. But this is also on the Pacers to find strategies and create situations where he can have success doing those things. That is where I think the game shifted. And for him is when they found some of those things. And that's what they need to carry into game 3 is what happened in that 4th quarter. Can they do that again to start the game or earlier in the process of the game? Because it didn't ever feel like the situations were there for him to be at his absolute best. And so that is the next step of the series. What does it take to get Tyrese Haliburton going? Because the Thunder have had his number a lot. And the 4-on-4 stuff for the Pacers elsewhere wasn't as good in this game. And he wasn't getting face guarded like Mikal Bridges-esque from the last series. But last series, Mikal Bridges starts face guarding him. They realize they need to get him going on the move a little bit. Guess what happens in game 6? He gets going on the move. He's more involved. He's not even scoring more, but the Pacers offense is just plain old better. So this is a new challenge. A very talented defense cutting off a player like this. They have got to make sure that the Pacers are doing all they can to get Haliburton his spots. That's what everybody always talks about. Who isn't him is it's on them as much as it is him. He's got to be better, and he knows it. He did have a little limp coming off the podium. I don't think it affected him during the game. It's obviously not an excuse for how he played. He did play in the game. He's got to be better. But, man, that was not good enough from him, and it was not good enough from the Pacers finding ways to make him be him. And that's the biggest part of why it's 1-1. Stats will remember his game incorrectly. I think he would admit that, although he did find some stuff with that floater, and that shot could be there. His signature shot of his career. No, never mind. He's had so many crazy game winners this playoffs. The first signature shot of his career, that Bucks game winner last year, was a floater. He's gotten better at it throughout his career. He's making enough threes in this series. He is the Pacers' identity in offense in so many ways. He's got to find ways to be better, to get in the paint and keep the ball moving. The Pacers have to find ways to keep moving, to keep the ball getting back to him, and make sure that he is getting advantageous situations against a very tough defense. And that tough defense is creating another thing for the Pacers that I think is a shocking challenge for them that was expected and yet has kind of caused them a ton of problems in this game and in the series. Points in the paint. Why can't the Pacers score? And we're going to talk about that coming up here on Locked On Pacers. Before we do that, we need to talk about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that is where Monarch Money comes in. That's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. They have so many insights that can help you see where you're spending too much so you can budget smarter and save more. They have a ton of all-in-one convenience, so you don't have to juggle multiple finance apps. Monarch Money is the way to do that. And you can manage money with your partner easier than ever, shared and personal accounts, so you can set goals, stay on the same page without stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off of your first year. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making me your first listen today and every single day. Locked On Thunder, your second listen for their perspective on a much better performance from OKC. Higher screens for Shea, gets him rolling. Their bench being way better. Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso, we'll talk about them. Their bench, there's so much to get to. I'm in my media seat here, still in the Paycom Center. If it looks like I'm rolling my eyes a lot or being irritable, it's because I recorded an entire podcast after the game and there was no audio. So I had a worse performance than the Pacers today doing my job, and I still have this cough. So talking for an hour straight is brutal, and my media seat puts me right in front of a giant OKC Thunder logo. So not very Pacers-y for a Locked On Pacers podcast. Let's keep going here with thing two, the thing I was asking about to everybody who I could post-game, because this to me is kind of the Pacers version of something I've talked about, right? Last round, and the issue is points in the paint. I teased that coming into this segment, 34 for the Pacers in this game. So last round, the Timberwolves, every game said the same thing. We're turning it over too much. We've got to clean up the turnovers. Guess what happened next game? They turned it over too much, right? They couldn't solve that problem. This series, to me, that is becoming points in the paint for the Pacers, who know they are at their best when they get into the paint. Jenny Busick said it a year or two ago, paint to great. That's how she describes the best version of the Pacers offense. That was on like a TV interview with JJ on a FanDuel thing. And it just has stuck with me so much because when the Pacers are at their absolute sharpest offensively, you can see that. Obviously, their passing is always pretty good. But when they get in the paint and get the defense to rotate and then the passing comes, it looks even more effective. It creates better shots. It creates openings on the floor. They are not able to get those in these games. And it is collectively killing them, just destroying them. Entering this series, the Pacers had 2 games in the playoffs that were their lowest points in the paint number. It was 32. It was game 3 against the Knicks, a loss, and game 1 against the Bucks, a win, but they were on fire from 3 in that game. In the regular season, they had 32 and a road loss against Orlando in November. Every other game they've played this whole season has been at 34 or more. They had 34 points in the paint in game 1. They had 34 points in the paint in game 2 in this Thunder series. They are not getting anything going at the basket. They absolutely have to find a way to be better there. I believe they had 4 points in the paint at the end of the first quarter. I'm going to go try to find my tweet for the moment that I tweeted. It all caps. 4 was their number of points in the paint. I'm scrolling up. I can't find it fast enough. But it was just painful how poor they were at scoring there. Just a ridiculous run from the Thunder to close the half. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it. Regardless, it might have been the whole first quarter. Oh, yes, it was. After a Jalen Williams mid-range shot, the Pacers were shooting 32%. The Pacers had 4 points in the paint. This was 43 minutes of real time into the game. So they were that's the second quarter, to be clear. They could not score at the rim. So The Thunder defense, this is something talked about before the series on this podcast and everywhere, right? This is not breaking news or analysis. The Thunder defense is so tight and connected on the strong side of the floor, right? You're coming around a screen as a ball handler in this series, or you're just beating your man off the bounce, and you're going to see a second defender pretty quickly. You're going to see help from the weak side corner at the block. So you can't just roll into the paint. You have to have perfect spacing principles to keep the Thunder spread out and not just having space to go toward the rim all the time, right? Everybody, I think, understands that. Even the Pacers understand that. Early in the third quarter, some of their best paint stretch of play was getting Myles Turner going toward the rim with more consistency. Their spacing was good. His rolls were good. His finishes were good. Haliburton's passing was crisp in those moments. But a lot of the time, the paint isn't there. And the Pacers' instinct, which I think is not wrong, it's just not leading to what they hope it does, is get off the ball, pass, right, and keep it moving. And that's sort of true, but if you're moving and you're keeping it moving and nothing's being created, you're just passing to pass. There has to be more of an effort to use those passes to go toward the rim, right at the basket. It's way easier said than done. I'm not saying that this is some simple fix for the Pacers. So you might be wondering how the Thunder are so good at this and no one else can, because if you could just load up the strong side or load up the ball handler and keep guys out of the paint, great, everybody would do it, right? So one is just the Thunder's execution, right? A lot of players have described to me the connectivity of that defense has been really crushing. But the other part of it is they are giving up something. We've talked about this. The corner three, it's supposed to be a weapon against the Thunder. You're going to get it because especially the weak side corner is there. And the thing is, for a lot of ball handlers, making a pass from the strong side to the weak side corner that's on time, on target, and in the pocket quick enough to beat a rotating defense is not easy. Haliburton can obviously do it. A lot of point guards can, but not a lot of players can, which is why some teams are willing to give it up. In general, it's because they know a lot of the time they'll be able to recover unless the pass is perfect. Regardless, you saw the Pacers shoot very well from three and pretty well from the corners in game one. In this game, they made 1 3 from the left corner and I believe 3 or 4 from the right corner. They were terrible shooting threes from the right wing where they were trying to get going into the paint. They would spray it out to there and just burp one up. And a lot of people have said, they didn't shoot very well. They shot 35% from three. It wasn't terrible. I thought their three-point quality was worse in this game. That's a consequence of their struggles at the paint. They have got to find a way to get there. They cannot live with this sort of mid-range volume, right? 14 made threes, 34 points in the paint. I'm not going to be able to do math quick enough, but I believe that means they had some upwards of like 20-something points for mid-range shots, which was survivable-ish, but not great. Oh, I did some bad math there. I forgot free throws. Regardless, they were taking and relying on too many shots that are not their bread and butter looks. They've just got to find a way to be more effective at the basket. So many guys, a huge percentage of their makes were threes or jumpers because the paint is cut off. And the way the Pacers play, that isn't just cutting off a direct scoring opportunity of guys scoring in the paint. That's cutting off good passes. So to me, the solution here is one, cutting. If they're leaving a space available on the weak side, go occupy it with a cut. Maybe cut in and cut back out, cut through the paint, whatever. Just force that defender who's sagging off really far or sagging into the paint to cut off the paint to be occupied thinking about something else or doing something else. They're already an active defense. Make them think about being more active, right? That's thing one to me. Thing two to me is the ball movement has to come with more pressure. But thing three, and I noticed this a lot, the Pacers could get to the elbow a decent amount, and that's kind of where they saw the pressure enough to not be able to get any farther. I think I would just try to take one more dribble towards the cup, even if a defender's in your way. Like force the defense to kind of come at you or react to what you're doing. If you have even a little bit of space, take that dribble, see what happens, and then make the pass. If no one comes to help, maybe that extra dribble yields a shot. If someone does come to help, maybe that extra dribble yields a pass. If you get cut off by your own defender and nothing's there, who cares, right? At least you're in the paint already or closer to the paint as is. I think that's a big thing for the Pacers in the series. They have to get going in the paint because it isn't just about scoring at the rim, which is the best shots you can get. It's about everything else it unlocks for the team. And their best guys at getting there are their ball handlers. It always has been. And they just straight up have not been good enough at getting there. And just like I said with Tyrese Haliburton, it's on the whole team to kind of concoct better ways to get there. I asked basically everybody about this after the game. It's just how the Thunder play, right? They're so good at cutting this off with their defense. And the Pacers have been so good about adjusting to that challenge throughout the playoffs and figuring out how to get there and what they can do to get it done. They need to figure it out because if they cannot score points in the paint, they're going to be such a reliant team on jump shooting If they're so reliant on jump shooting when they're missing even a decent amount, the Thunder are going to run in transition. They're going to be stopping stuff at the rim and running in transition. Hey, guess what? The Thunder were way better in the open floor today than they were in game one, where a big talking point even for me was get steals and they wouldn't score. This time they got steals and they did score. This time their transition points were much higher. I need to find the exact number. I can't right now. Their fast break points, yeah, we're better. You just need to see more finishing at the basket and getting to the basket from the Pacers. The attempt number is too low. They've got to figure that out. I think that is the soul of their offense being taken away by a good Oklahoma City team. If that does not improve in game two, if that does not improve in game three, the Pacers might, for the first time in this playoffs, lose 2 games in a row. There's so much more to get to from this game, things that went wrong, things that went right, that maybe can carry into the next game to close out this game 2 recap edition of Locked On Pacers. Before we get into that, we got to talk about DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. It's the finals, meaning big performances and even bigger awards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for DashPass members during these playoffs. It's called They Swoosh You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, DashPass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. You just got to place an order of $20 or more. Use the code Wingstop50 at checkout. Boom, that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer is valid noon to midnight the day after a game. Terms apply. Whatever your go-to move is after an epic game, watching highlights, ordering wings, imagine some free food with it. If you ever looked at delivery fees and thought there's got to be a better way, well, DashPass is that way. $0 delivery fees plus exclusive perks. So here's the play. Sign up for DashPass. Unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 plus in a playoff game, DashPass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day with a $20+ order and code Wingstop50. That's DashPass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making me your first listen today and every single day. My voice will make it through this segment, and your second listen will be another Locked On podcast. A lot of Giannis stuff, a lot of Durant stuff, a lot of Cooper Flag, a lot of Jason Kidd, Knicks coaching search. Any of those teams should be your second listen today as you figure out where you can learn more about the NBA, the offseason, and the finals. So much more to get to today on this show. Chet Holmgren was better. He made some jumpers in this game, spread it out. That's why I thought he could be better with being a 5-out threat. Jalen Williams got to the foul line 9 times. But the real thing that changed from the Thunder offensive perspective as they get to 123, the bench. 6 made shots, for Aaron Wiggins, who made 5 threes, more than any Pacer made from deep. 6 made shots would be second on the Pacers behind only Haliburton. 6 made shots for Caruso. He fits in the same vein. They combine for 12 made shots. The Pacers' entire bench had 12, and that's counting a James Johnson shot in garbage time. And they should not, that's a stretch. They're good players. They can't be both that effective, especially if the Pacers' bench isn't good enough. Wiggins made 5 threes. The Pacers need to be better shutting down the three-point line. Caruso made 4. That's 9. The Pacers made 14. The Thunder made 14. With how good the Thunder defense is and what they're specifically trying to cut off, if they are even in the three-point battle, Pacers are cooked on the spot, right? They can't have that happen. If they made 6 threes in this game, they would have lost. They made 7 or more, they would have won given the score margin. They made 14. The Pacers have to be better there. But those two are awesome. Let's really frame this the way I want. Alex Caruso had 20 points in this game. He's a good player. He's a better offensive player than he's given credit for. Obviously, defense is his thing. He had 20 points in this game. The Pacers don't have a 20-point scorer in the whole series. Siakam, their leading scorer, with 19 in game 1. Haliburton with 17 in game 2. The bench is kicking their butt. And the Pacers bench, I called this out after game 1, even though Toppin had a good game. And I thought Mathurin was pretty good in game 2. He's their first sub this time in the first half, not in the second half. He goes 4 for 7. He gets 7 free throws. He came in and took advantage when the Thunder were in the bonus in the third quarter. And his way to 14 points, he's played better defense in this game and throughout the playoffs. He struggled with Shea a bit. So does everybody. I'm rambling here. Mathurin had an okay game. Toppin was good in game 1. That's fine. But the collective bench groups just haven't been good enough. And I don't even think they're mixing and matching wrong. I've seen a lot of, I think this is just lazy. I think a lot of losses, people just go, Rick, with the lineups. Like, I think it's lazy. They did have a no-star group to close the third quarter, and I was confused about it, but it worked. Those minutes went even, and then that gave them a chance to play the starters to open the fourth and have another comeback like they've done all playoffs. They didn't do it this time, obviously. But, like, the mixing and matching has mostly worked. I just did a podcast after the Knicks series, and not mostly worked. That's a stretch. The mixing and matching has been better throughout the playoffs. I just did the post-Nick series show where I said the Pascal plus the bench groups were a huge part of them winning the series. Those lineups were awesome. Pascal plus one starter plus 3 bench players. Those groups were fantastic. Those groups haven't been nearly good enough in these 2 games. Siakam minus 15 in this one. He's 3 for 11. He individually did not play very well, and like he's kind of dodging not criticism because he just missed shots, right? He was still good on the glass with 7 of those, 4 assists. Like he's giving the Pacers the most consistent effort every game. But him with the bench needs to just be a better unit, and then we're not getting any of that. Obi Toppin goes 1 for 8. He missed all 3 of his 2s in this game. Thomas Bryant missed his only shot, a 3 like early in the clock. That was weird. TJ McConnell was pretty good. He had 11 and 6 with no turnovers. He was getting to his shots and making them. A lot of those came late. Ben Shepherd goes 1 for 2 from deep. He didn't even play until middle of the second quarter. The bench just had those units haven't been good enough. The Thunder defense, the thing they take away is the paint. Those groups are not good shooting groups. They are uniquely qualified by skill to struggle against OKC, right? So I'm not excusing their bad play by saying, oh, it's just a bad matchup. It is a bad matchup. They still need to find a way to be better. They still need to find a way to probe and be fast and keep the ball moving and really defend better. That's where they're getting killed. They're not getting enough stops with those guys on the floor. The Shayless minutes need to see better defense for the Pacers, and that just hasn't happened at all in this series. I think the bench needs to step up in a big way, be more cohesive. Siakam needs to get more involved and get himself more involved in those lineups. Those were crushing, right? Those were some tough minutes for the Pacers. They even did something I thought made sense to them to do to improve. They stuck Nesmith out there with some of those bench groups, add some shooting to the mix, a must against OKC. That didn't help enough. And here it comes. I think this will be a crescendoing level of important topic throughout the series. I brought it up as a thing I thought was almost a must going to see in this game, and it happened. Zone. The Pacers went zone against the Thunder in the third quarter, and the second TJ McConnell came in, here comes that Thunder zone. Very good. Actually, I thought the Pacers handled it pretty well, but it works well against poor shooting teams, and those bench groups for the Pacers have some good shooters, but are not as lineups, good shooting groups. They have been tough. The bench has to be better, especially the bench plus Siakam groups. Their plus minus does tell a unique story in this game that I actually think is correct. Sometimes it isn't. This time it is. They just need more from that in this. They lost the rebounding battle in this one. I think that's mostly a consequence of the number of missed shots by both teams. I don't think there's anything to the rebounding battle shaping the results so much in these games, but I think getting to the paint, finding bench success, ball movement in general, and of course unlocking Tyrese Haliburton are the keys for the Pacers getting going. They did better in the turnover department, only losing that by 2, so their possession battle defeat, which does not show up in the shots, but shows up in the free throws, largely comes on the glass. So the bench has to be better. Some of the role guys have to be better. Aaron Nesmith goes 1 for 4 on 2s. Andrew Nembhard doesn't shoot well from deep. Myles Turner doesn't shoot well from deep. Pascal Siakam doesn't shoot well from deep. Those guys, Obi Toppin doesn't shoot well from deep. The Pacers did get good enough shooting from other guys to make up for that, but those guys can be better. They took largely good shots. I'm rambling a lot to say the Pacers played bad, and they played bad in a lot of ways that OKC forces you to play bad. So this isn't a simple thing like it is in some other games where it's the play better adjustment, right? Do the things you do, but better. Obviously, they need to play better. I'm not absolving the Pacers of that in any way, but they have some real changes to make to their offensive process to figure out how to get to the paint with who, how to attack, how to unlock Haliburton, how to play paint to great, because the Thunder are very good, and they've cut off specifically the ways that the Pacers want to be good, and that's why the series is 1-1, and that's why out of the 8 halves that have happened, 8 halves, that's right. The 4 halves that have happened in the series, the 8 quarters, I would say 5 or 6 of the quarters, OKC's been better, and 3 of the 4 halves, OKC's been better, and the Pacers have to be thrilled it's 1-1, but they're a Tyrese Haliburton missed jumper away from feeling very bad about how they played in the Paycom Center. But ifs are pointless. If they win 1 or 2 at home in Indy, they'll be feeling great, and we'll see where this goes. I'll, of course, be at those games, traveling back tomorrow. Practice day on Tuesday, where we'll learn more about the struggles the Pacers are having and so much more. Among the biggest games the Pacers have ever played, tonight was huge. Every game will be huge. They need to find adjustments. They need to get Haliburton going. They need to hope he's healthy, and that wasn't anything significant to see him limping around the post-game podium. And they have 2 days to figure it out. Game 3 on a Wednesday. So, again, you'll hear me and Rylan Styles probably tomorrow, and then me and a Pacers guest going in to Wednesday where they play again. If you want to yell at me for saying something dumb, please do so in the YouTube comments or by tweeting at me at Tony R. East or blue skying me at the same handle. This podcast is at Locked On Pacers or on Instagram under the same handle. Back tomorrow talking more Pacers in the finals. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm sorry about my voice. We'll get through this together, and we'll see you tomorrow.